Do you mind talking about Grandpa Fletcher? Some of the memories there.
I didn't know him. He died before Grandpa and I were married.
Oh yeah, about Reed.
Oh. He was a grocerman through and through. He was brought up in the grocery store. That's all he wanted to do was sell groceries.
How old were you when you two were married?
I was 20 and he was 22. 22. I guess he'd been away to war.
That's right, because wasn't it a couple weeks after you were married he had to leave?
Yeah. He came home on a furlough, and that's when we got married. It's got to be here, Mark.
I would think so.
I remember it was close to Burns. He said that he tried to run his father's store when he first came home, he and his brother Quentin, and that didn't work, so Quentin had married an Australian and she wanted to live in a big city, so they moved to San Francisco and they sold the store.
Oh, really?
And when they sold the store, he went to work for a wholesale grocery company and sold groceries from then on until he died. See, now it's just like this. It's a tree
Well,
on each side.
you right?
Yep. Let me hang on to you. Maybe.
So after they sold the store, what did Grandpa end up doing?
Grandpa, your Grandpa Fletcher, he
Uh-huh.
went to work for Sims Grocery Wholesale and traveled Utah County and sold groceries to the grocery stores. And then when he had an opportunity, he interviewed for a job with Utah Wholesale Grocery out of Salt Lake. Mr. Smith was his boss, and he was the nicest man that ever was. And when the father in...
Oh, John Fletcher?
Yeah, John Fletcher. There they are. They still have trees. Oh, when Mr. Smith, Albert Smith, had a son named Reed, and he didn't amount to much, so he kind of took Reed under his arm and had him selling groceries. And when the man in Price suddenly died, he called both of us in the office and said, "Do you want to move to Price and be the manager of a wholesale grocery company?" He said, "You bet."
Huh.
So we moved to Price, and he loved it. He had so many good friends out there, and he was in the Lions Club and was active in church affairs and went to the college and took all the classes he could that was about history, because
Really?
he was such a history buff.
Huh, kind of like Dad.
Yeah. That's great.
Huh,
Makes you appreciate your country a little bit more.
it's true.
67. Oh my gosh. I remember she died. She didn't get to see David. He was born in 66, I think.
Oh, really?
She didn't get to see David. She was in Minneapolis when she died, and with her daughter, and they sent the body here to be. So they had a funeral in the Second Ward Church, which was the one that all of us went to, the one on Main Street that they tore down. And after her funeral, Avis Allen, a really good friend that lived next door to Lorraine Stewart, they had dinner fixed for all of us because she hadn't lived here for quite a number of years, so we didn't want the church to furnish lunch or anything, so we went to Avis and Lorraine's and had lunch.
Huh.
And our son came, but his wife didn't. And her daughter and son-in-law came
Huh.
from out of town. But
Huh.
our good friends would go to the airport and pick another one up, and then they'd go to the airport and pick another one up.
So this is your mother and father?
No,
Oh,
Reed's mother
Reed's
and
mother and
father,
father.
Fletcher.
right.
John Fletcher and May Henderson Fletcher. They met in Cannonville and married and had all of their children there, which consisted of Cleo, Quentin, Merle, and Reed.
Oh, really?
And then she taught school there, and so did he, but they weren't making as much as they could in the grocery store, so they bought a grocery store down in Cannonville. And a brother-in-law of Grandma Fletcher's had come to Springville and found it was prospering, and so he got them to come and he helped build the store out there on Main Street and 7th South.
Really?
They got the store built, and Grandpa ran it for all the years that he was alive, and then when he died, his wife leased it to a man. And then when Reed and his brother Quentin came home from the service, they decided they'd run it. And so they did for a little while, but they weren't making much out there because they changed the road. They had gas pumps out in front, and they had to take those down for the road, and when they changed it all around. So they sold it, and his brother Quentin moved to San Francisco.
Huh.
And that's when he went to work in the wholesale grocery business.
Wow. So the grocery store was in the family business for a while.
Oh yeah, they had one down in Cannonville that they operated, and this brother-in-law of Grandma Fletcher's talked him into coming to Springville. Well, I'm glad they did.
What was the name of the grocery store?
Jack's Service.
Jack's Service.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So how long were you guys in Price with Grandpa working at the new position?
We were out there nearly 10 years, I think, at least. I don't remember just the year we went to Casper, but it was a good move to Casper. We were called into Mr. Smith's office, and he said, "You've done such a good job in Price. Do you want a bigger warehouse?" And he says, "Sure, where is it?" And he says, "Well, Elaine has to agree to it, too." He was a very thoughtful man. So, the man in Casper, it's kind of ironic, I think. He was killed in an accident, and so we said yes, we'd go to Casper. And Reed flew to Casper and found a building lot and a builder, and he was to have the house finished by the time school was out. This was in February. And by May, when we were moving there, I let the kids finish school that year. But by May, when we were moving there, the house wasn't finished, so we had to move into a rental. And they stacked everything in the garage, and we couldn't find anything, and we labeled the boxes, but that was a mess until we got into our house, and then we were okay. It was a pretty house. It was on the golf course. The 9th hole was right in our backyard out of ways. It was pretty.
Huh.
But it was too far from town. It was in a place called Paradise Valley on a golf course, and I said to him one day, "I'm moving into town. If you're coming with me, okay." He says, well, we've got to build then. And I said, no, we don't need to build another one. Yes, we do. He wouldn't buy one already built. So we build another one.
How
Casper.
now? Who was born then at that time? Was David and everybody already born, or how many of your sons did you have at that time?
Yeah, David. Well, David was born in Casper in the first house we moved into, the new one that we moved into. And it was about 3 years after he was born, I guess, that he was about 5 when we moved up into Valley Hills, closer to town.
Okay.
He had, on the corner was a little girl that was his age, and her name was Brenna Allen. And they couldn't go to school, so they'd watch the kids go to school, and then he'd come in and get his lunchbox, and she'd get hers, and they'd sit on the curb and eat their lunch. So that they'd feel good about everybody going to school in the neighborhood, and they couldn't. Oh, they were real buddies.
Huh.
Now, what else do you want to know?
Let's see. So, how many years did you stay in Casper?
Well, until he died in '74, when he was shot at Trolley Square. It was 1974, April 1st of 1974. Let's see, how many years would that be? I can't remember. We were there about 12 years.
So he
Yeah.
died while you guys were living, while you were living in Casper, but you were okay.
Yeah.
And then it was after his death that you moved to Springville.
I just knew that my mother was still alive, and my brother was here, and had so many friends. I just knew that it'd be best for me to try to raise the boys in Springville than to do it in Casper. So we sold the house there and bought the one where we are now, with all its leaks. Oh.
That was in Salt Lake that it happened, wasn't it?
At Trolley Square in Salt Lake. We were there to have lunch, and your father and younger brother David were on their way on the trolley. We put them on the trolley downtown, and it went up to Trolley Square. And so we drove up to Trolley Square, and they got on the train, and so we were trying to wait for them to come when we walked along the sidewalk there at Trolley Square, and a stray bullet hit him directly and killed him instantly. And luckily, Leslie Stewart worked at Trolley Square, and he came to our aid. He ran out and took us to the hospital, and then went back and found your father and David. So when they came in on the train, they wouldn't just see all the blood and everything. They would find out. He'd tell them what was wrong.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in.
You in?